There's a lot of lessons we can learn from Hurricane Ian, but in case you didn't know, insurance has a lot to do with them and has a lot of questions. So today, I'm sitting down with Jennifer Dittman with the Brightway Insurance, the Dittman agency, and Jennifer's going to talk to us a little bit about lessons she's learned from Hurricane Ian. Hi, Jennifer.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being willing to talk to us about this.
Thank you for inviting me.
Crazy topic. So I know we both started out and said the key thing that people always need to do is be safe.
Be safe. Absolutely. There's no question. Follow the evacuation rules. If you live on the beach or anywhere near there, get away. Go away. Go get a nice hotel way away from anything and be safe.
And of course, if you're going to do that, you want to be prepared with all of your documents to make sure that's in a safe place, and that if they can be uploaded online or in a safe or anything like that, have those documents stored so that you have access to them after the storm.
Absolutely. And just remember that you may not have phone service, electric, internet. So have your insurance paperwork right on your person, at least your policy number and the claims number to the company. Don't rely on being able to call your agent, because if your agent is in the same area as you are, they are probably going through the same thing and you're not going to be able to get through. So have, several numbers you can call so that you can get, after the storm, on the claims agenda, or, get an adjuster out there as soon as you can.
Well, what about your insurance policy? Is there anything you should be checking before a storm on your policy?
Absolutely. Even way before hurricane season, you need to sit down with your agent and have a one-on-one and look at your policies. Know what your building is covered for. Know what contents is covered for. Know if you're covered for replacement cost or actual cash value. The big thing we're finding is people are shocked when they're learning that a hurricane deductible is so high. Remember, in Florida, you have two deductibles on your policy. One is going to be for, they call it an AOP, all other perils, which is everything but a named storm or a hurricane. And that deductible is going to be 2% of whatever your building is covered for. So if you've got your building covered for $400,000, your hurricane deductible is going to be $8,000, which means the first $8,000 is going to come out of your pocket. So that's the other thing you want to be prepared for, is to have that money in the bank. Have that ready to go as your emergency fund, just in case, because you never know. But we're finding that a lot of people are really surprised at the deductible, even though, you go over it and everything. So like I said, before hurricane season, call your agent. Don't call when everything's happening, because you're probably not going to get through and you're not going to get the service you need.
So that's one of the things we talk about a lot in lending, because when we're in the process of doing a loan, a lot of times when we get close to a hurricane close to us or any disturbance close to us, you can't write policies.
Correct.
So I'm sure the same thing is true about adjusting a policy that you currently have.
Absolutely. And a lot of policies can't be adjusted during hurricane season, whether there's a hurricane or not. It can't be adjusted. We also see people that, to save money, have said, okay, yeah, I'll take a 5% hurricane deductible, not realizing the impact that has on your pocketbook. It sounds good when there's not a hurricane, but 5% of $400,000 is $20,000. So if you do that, make sure you can afford it. Don't do that just to save a few dollars on the bottom line of your insurance. It's definitely not worth it, because we live in Florida and we don't know.
You're right. We live in Florida and we don't know, and we have to be prepared. So let me ask you about flood insurance. How does flood insurance differ from the hurricane insurance, and how does that all work?
Well, flood insurance is typically not included in a homeowner's policy. And there's two ways to buy it. You can buy it through the NFIP, which is the government run, or now we have a lot of private companies. So you want to go to an agent that has access to all of that, so you can see what your best option is. But you need to have flood insurance, even if you're not in a high risk zone. Remember, everything in Florida is is a flood zone. It just depends if you're in a high risk or a low risk. If you're in a low risk, typically your mortgage company doesn't require you to have flood, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't have it. That just means you're not required, but that also means the rates are lower. And for probably around $600 a year, you can be protected for at least $250,000. What we found with Ian is only 30% of the people that got flooded had flood insurance.
Wow. Wow, that's a very low percentage. And that's one of the things that, it comes up when you're getting a mortgage, but I don't think I do a good enough job explaining to people that just because we don't require flood insurance doesn't mean you shouldn't consider it, because there is all of those things that come into play. It's not just, oh, it's required. It's, wow, what would happen if there was a major flood, a hurricane, or something of that nature?
Right. And people ask, well, what is a flood? Just remember, flood is groundwater. Flood is tidal water. Flood is water coming up. So your storm surges, the flooding of the lake that never flooded before, but now it's coming in your front door, that is flood. If your roof blows off and the rain comes in, that is not flood. So what we find at these terrible times are the companies deciding what damaged your home with flood and what damaged your home with a hurricane. If you have both policies, you can rest assured at least you're going to be covered. But if you don't have flood, then only part of your claim, if any, is going to be covered. So again, it's a good time to make sure beforehand that you have enough coverage, and make sure you have enough flood coverage, especially if you are in a flood zone. I know mortgage companies only require $250,000, and that's a lot of times all people want, and that's all they cover, because we don't think about our homes being totally flooded like we saw with Ian. That is, even for me, it's an eye-opener to see how many of these homes were totally destroyed. And people stayed in them. So obviously they didn't think they were in danger. So, is $250,000 really enough to replace your home? I don't know. I don't think so.
And as you mentioned already, find out these things ahead of time before hurricane season so that you know how you're covered and how well you're covered.